Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Are you okay?
I am.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Well, thank you for chatting with me today anyway.
Okay.
So, how long ago has it been since you were diagnosed?
I was thinking about that this morning. It's been 10 years to last month that I stopped driving. So it was probably 3 years before that.
Mm-hmm.
So in my early 40s.
Yeah.
It's become, I used to know it specifically, the date and the time and all that, but it's become more historical now. I think that's part of the time and the process.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in my early 40s, and I remember that it was my driving that I became aware of before anything else.
Yeah.
And so that it was in the midst of the eyesight tests and just going for annual checkups. And somewhere in the midst of that, they did the photo on the back of my eye and caught my macular degeneration, and then I went to Moorfields, and I think there was a bit of toing and throwing before actual diagnosis. It seems to take a while, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm not actually sure, but somewhere around that time.
Yeah. So mine's only 5 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, the similar thing that we were coming out of lockdown and sort of got back to driving, and I was really finding it hard to drive at night with the lights, and I found sort of like the lights hitting me and me sort of completely turning my head away from the lights, and then me and James, my other half, deciding to go for a routine eye checkup, and them saying, do you want to pay an extra £10 and we'll take a picture of the back of your eye. And then James come out and had his done and sat down, and then I went in and they asked me to wait, and then I sat down and we were sort of joking, and then we went in and then they told me that there was, I'd only ever seen this in textbooks. She said, "Oh, it's amazing," she said, and I was like sitting there and I was really calm about it, but it was like, and then it was backwards and forwards to Moorfields. When you went to Moorfields, how did you find that the first time?
Completely overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's such a place, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think just being confronted with, for a hospital that deals with eyesight issues, I find it peculiar that it's so, I suppose it's a hospital, but it's so bright, it's so difficult to get around. The clinic I go to is downstairs, so you've got to get down.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess it's the same clinic.
Yeah.
But getting all the way down there, and then the testing process, is invasive with all of the drops, the lights, the peripheral vision tests when you're getting there as well, and all of the bits and pieces. So the first time I went, I didn't know whether I was up or down when I came out.
I was hysterical.
Yeah.
I was absolutely hysterical, and we both work so much on our minds.
Yes.
But it's a great hospital, and they probably deal with people, obviously they deal with people like us every day.
Yeah.
But I found it very cold.
True.
Their approach.
Yeah.
And I remember sort of sitting there and watching people come in with their canes and their dark sunglasses or their dogs, and I just thinking, this is how I'm going to be. And I didn't feel there was any support for that, and I didn't find that there was anyone to talk to come over that, and hence why we're trying to build this community.
And I remember seeing or being shown the pictures of what my vision was going to look like. They showed pictures of I don't remember what the image was, but there was just a black circle right in the centre. And this was at the beginning point where I was not even aware of anything significant happening in my central vision. Maybe there was a little bit of, that sort of halo-y kind of before it changes significantly. But that's what I took home with me, the belief, the understanding that I was just not going to have anything in the centre. And to this point, that's not true. I know we've talked about that isolated experience, and our eyes are incredibly clever, and although I have very little vision in this eye, I still see the world without a black spot, block right in the centre. And that's not to say that that's not how others see, but that's not how I see. And I found that terrifying, the whole prospect of thinking that was going to be my experience. And I think it's that process over time. It feels easier to think about that now. But right at diagnosis, right at that beginning, I agree. It did feel very much like, well, this is your condition. I can't do anything about it. There's no treatment. Off you go. And in fact, I remember the consultant saying to me, well, if you're going to get an eyesight condition, this is a good one to get. And I don't think I even remembered asking what he meant by that. And I understand what he said in the sense that it's hopeful that I won't ever lose all of my vision. I will have some usable vision, and I think that's what he was getting at. But any adjustment, any change is significant. It's a loss, isn't it? And I did find that response less than helpful.
When I come home after going backwards and forwards and then finally getting a name to it, which I don't think matters, because I agree that my vision and your vision, even though we've got the same name, is completely different. But mine was the fact of they didn't show me them pictures, so that's changed. But what they said to me is, we don't know how long until you lose your central vision, how long's a piece of string. And I was always a person that had a 5-year plan. And I thought to myself, well, do I put on a retreat next year? I remember me and Anne talking about this, do I put on a retreat next year? Am I going to be able to see next year? Am I going to be able to teach, continue to teach? I had no clue. So I went on a journey myself to find out what support is out there myself. And the Macular Society put me in contact with a buddy who had Stargardt's, and he started to lose his vision at 17. And a piece of advice he gave me is, don't let anyone tell you what you're seeing. And that has stuck with me. Nothing else, and I didn't contact him after that. But that was it, because I can't tell you. You can't tell me what I'm seeing. It doesn't matter how much they read them charts. If I notice a difference in my life, and I know that, then that's what I'm seeing, and that's what's changed for me. I can go there and they can go, oh, it's small changes, Dawn, but it's changes for me. Did you find natural bulbs in your lights help you?
Yeah, some of them do. This light here has got a natural light bulb, and that does help. But to be fair, I think my eyes are so sensitive to light now, I'm not entirely sure that any changes in lights really make a difference. If I could, I'd just be in a room inside with, like when we're in a meeting for the vision team, it's really difficult because I'm in a room with mainly sighted colleagues. I have one other VI colleague, and we would like the room to be really dark because for us it's really a lot in the light, but of course that's not possible for the majority of seeing people, and that feels a little bit like home, to be honest with you, although the house is naturally a little darker, so that's quite nice, but then it's difficult with the light and the dark, and it's a constant change, isn't it, given the seasons, given the time of day, given our tiredness, or my tiredness, how I'm feeling. It just changes on a minute-to-minute basis. So what suits me one day is maybe not so great the next.
So again, there's a difference because, and I spoke to other people as well. So mine, I prefer natural light. So weather like today in a room like this is perfect for me. When I go outside, I prefer my sunglasses on, but I can, with more light, natural light, I can go for a walk on my own. I can see things more on my own. Dark rooms don't work for me.
It's interesting, isn't it, the difference?
It doesn't work for me at all. I'll end up falling over. So I need a really natural lit room, and then I can move around easier. How did you find telling your family?
I think it was difficult because at the time my youngest was in primary school, so he was 9, 10, and his brother is 3 years older, so he'd just gone up to high school. And I had this massive mum guilt thing, that I wasn't going to be able to be mum, that I wasn't going to be able to do what I'd always done. I'd always taken great pride in being able to, at that time, my husband and I were running a catering business together, and although we were busy at weekends, we did every school drop and pick up ourselves, and we were really proud of that. You know, it really made a difference to our lives. And then suddenly I wasn't going to be able to do the school run, for example, because I couldn't do the driving. How was I going to manage play dates and simple day-to-day things that made such a difference in our family, you know, way of working? So I really struggled to kind of share with them what was ahead, because it was going to impact them as much as it was going to impact me. But to be fair, kids are kids, and they were just like, oh right, okay, fine, and you know, how will we get to school then? And well, we'll get the bus, and we'll do this and we'll do that. Oh, it's fine. And I was really grateful that, having sort of got it out there, we'd grown up with a toddler group of mums around us, as I think often happens. And many of our friends were really good in just offering and picking up and doing all that kind of stuff. So actually, I think what I was really concerned about telling them dissolved and didn't really impact. And likewise with my husband, it didn't, you know, it's just always been a case of, okay, that's a hurdle, how do we solve it, what do we do differently? And it has made massive differences to our life. But actually, I think it's, now we get to this point in our lives, it's been a gift, curiously. So although it was uncomfortable sharing, and that at that point I was much less willing to talk about it than I am now. And it was interesting thinking, when you were talking about the buddy, I don't think I'd have accepted a buddy right at the beginning. I was very embarrassed. I felt quite ashamed that this part of me was going to impact my life. I didn't want anyone to know. That's that part of having an invisible condition that people can't see. So I would do my utmost to pretend, to put that mask on, like nothing had happened. But as I think we both know, what you keep hidden comes out in many different guises. And I have learned along the way that it's much easier for me and for others to be honest and to share what's going on. But not so easy in the beginning stages, and I didn't want to accept any help. So I think that was a tricky part in family and friends.
I've always been the backbone of the family. Everyone comes to me and shares with me. So I still find that part. That's why community's so important, because I am the support network of the family. So to me, to have a community behind me is that I can go to them and share, rather than share with my family. So Bradley's got a young family of his own. Obviously, he was older. You know, am I going to see my grandchildren, you know, as they get older and develop, because they're very small? My mum's not well. And she just continued to cry when I told her. And I think it's more the fact of how it's going to impact on them. How is she going to get around? How is she going to get to the shops? And how is she going to make hospital appointments? And bless James, my husband now, we were only dating at the time. And I'm very... So I sort of set him down and said, okay, this is the journey that I'm going to be on. And if you can't support me through this, or you can't cope with this, I suggest you leave now. And he was devastated. He cried and took some time off work. And I think he was more devastated that I said, what, do you want to leave? You best leave now. than about actually me going to be losing my vision. And once everything calmed down, he proposed to me. It's the fact that you can't always guarantee that your family are going to be able to support you, because you've got to understand that it's not their disease and they're not going through it, and they can't always understand how you're going to be feeling. So on that front, it's not their fault if they can't cope.
No, exactly.
And individually cope in different ways. It's not your family's fault if they can't.
And I guess it's their loss in many ways as well, isn't it? It's that adjustment, it's that change of what was before the diagnosis. So they've got their own stuff to be getting on with and figuring out. So
and we look okay.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? It must be so difficult. I know constantly. I feel a sideways, look from my husband, because one minute, and the truth is I cannot genuinely see what I'm trying to look at, or a letter comes through and I get frustrated because I can't read the letter, or something I miss something, or I can't see something on the TV, or I can't. I think oftentimes living in a home with boys, they banter, they joke, and I don't see the facial intonation, and so I take it literally, and I can feel quite hurt by something that's said in jest, and then the dynamic switches quite quickly in the room, and they can't understand how I can't see that, and yet when I'm going in the kitchen and I've dropped something on the right hand side, I can see if there's a colour contrast. I can pick a piece of pasta up that I've dropped on the floor, and they're like, well, how does that work? How did you not see what I was sharing, and you got upset with me about a look, and yet you can see that it doesn't make sense. It's very confusing for me some days. So I can't imagine what it must be like to have to live with this.
I mean, you were in class the other day when I kept saying, for example, how does this side bend feel? And nobody responds. And I'm like, you're going to have to say how it feels, because I can't see you nodding at me.
Of course not.
And again, it's really good lighting in here, so I can see this side of your face. I can't see this side. But in class the other day, I couldn't see anybody. And again, that's the way mine are. You're really pixelated, but I can roughly see you smiling and work it out. But it's that, and I can't explain it, so I don't know how I can explain it to them. But it just depends. And we've done it before. I'll be in my kitchen and I'll pop my head round the door and I'll say to James, do you want a cup of coffee? Do you want a cup of coffee? And he went, well, I nodded. So I can't see you.
Exactly.
So has there been on your journey any kind of upsetting moments that you want to share?
I think there are moments where I've felt exposed, and that feels really uncomfortable. I remember we were talking about coffee a minute ago. There was a moment when I was at university having, in the midst of all of this, it became apparent I could no longer drive, I could no longer work in the capacity I was doing. So I went back and re-qualified or went back to studying, and it was in a coffee break time, and I'd taken a flask of just some water, and I think I was drinking like a herbal tea in a cup, and these were the early stages where I hadn't quite, as you said, got to looking really close up kind of stuff. And this was at the point where I was still very much like, nothing to see here, I'm all fine kind of thing, and sat at a table with a fairly low coffee table like this kind of thing, talking to my colleagues, pouring the clear liquid flask, and it went all over the cup, all over the table, and I didn't see. And I was then really mortified that I made this mistake. I'd done something which I felt made me look silly, and I was really embarrassed. And thankfully I was in a group of people who hadn't got that response, who were very generous, and it was okay. But that, I still remember that moment of deep embarrassment that I had done something that I used to take for granted and just do without even thinking. And I think it's moments like that where I walk into a wheelie bin down the street and apologise because I think it's a person, or I do things like that that I find even now, I now can laugh as well, but it's just those moments of just complete reality check that yes, I've made all of these adaptations, yes, I've got pretty good handle on navigating life these days, but it has this habit of just coming up and just reminding me
I've done
in stark contrast.
When I went to meet a friend, Vanessa, as a great friend, great support, but again not told her, went into this coffee shop and it's that light and dark, and I can't see nothing, and I've stood there and I've just froze and I can't see anything, and I heard this voice, Dawn, over here, and I'm just turning and I'm just walking, and she must have realised then, and I've sat down and I've gone, and I'm like, oh, it's just my eyes like to dark at the moment. Didn't really explain. Got home from this coffee, this whole experience, and just cried, and managed to pull it off, and absolutely just fell apart. And then plucked up the courage to say to her, "You're going to have to meet me outside, and take me in." And she's like, "Why didn't you say anything?" And you're like, I don't know. I just thought I could do it, but it's sharing,
isn't it? Yeah, and I think that's the conversation that I've got more used to saying. I can, if not, I can't, but it requires some asking, some actual expressing, as you say. If you meet me outside, I can come for coffee because I then know how to get there, or I can do this if it's presented in this format, but it requires a revelation, that self-disclosure, which, to be fair, is what you model so well in class. And
thank you.
It's that part that has really landed with me, having met you, that sense of your openness and willingness to talk. I think that's a really good inspiration for me to learn from, and irrespective of how long I've been navigating, it's the part that I struggle the most at in terms of self-disclosure, and yet I find time and time again, the more I share, the closer the relationship feels, whether that's at work, whether that's with friends or family. So it's not a negative experience, and yet that sense of embarrassment, that sense of shame that there's somehow something wrong, still crops up, and it's a daily battle in my head.
I think the biggest thing for me was losing my driving licence. Well, I actually gave up my driving licence before I lost my driving licence, because I went from like a race car driver to like driving Miss Daisy, and James getting in the car one day and sort of looking at me and gone, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" And I'm like this, driving like at 5 miles an hour, where I would be like, just throwing the car around before, and I didn't even realise how cautious I had become. And then obviously having grandchildren, I thought, oh my God, if anything ever happened and it was down to me. So I gave it up.
I can definitely relate to that. I did the same in terms of handing my driving licence over because of that fear of having an accident. For me, I did have those, the children in the car, and I didn't feel safe. I would run into panic, and that sense of fear became too much. But then it's that independent aspect. We lived in a different house. We were in the middle of nowhere. Part of moving into the centre of the village where we are now was because of the transport. It's not ideal. I have to walk 40 minutes to get to the train station, but there's a bus, and I'm now pretty good at getting taxis, and I've got over that part. But it was, it was like my independence had just been taken from me. That sense of being that person that would always be counted on to do this, that and the other, no problem, I'll jump in the car, I'll go do that, I'll go pick up, I'll do whatever. And suddenly, I was beholden to others and didn't like that at all. So I get that. It is just a constant difficulty for me in the asking. I think even now, I think we had that conversation here last week when I said to my husband, can I go to yoga on Friday as well? And it was like I was asking for permission, which is quite ridiculous, really. And you don't have to ask. There's a car here. It's for you. I'm here to drive you. Let's get on. If I'm not working, was his response, I'm here to help. But even now, it feels like an ask, which it is, and it feels uncomfortable to do. But the more I do, the easier it becomes. Something in that, so yeah.
How do you find, like, watching telly as a family? Do you...
The audio description, if I could, I'd have it on all the time. It drives them insane.
I know.
The day Apple managed to do it so that you can watch audio description with your headphones in, and like when you go to the cinema, that will be an absolute game changer in our house. I'm sure it's possible at some point. I'm sure they're working on it, but at this moment it's either audio description on or audio description off. I sit very close to the TV, and actually that was really a big step for me to actually say, I'm actually going to have my chair and I'm going to sit close to the TV. Can we all do this? Can you move around to accommodate me? Because I was sat on the floor really uncomfortably so that everybody else could see, so that I was close, and that this is not the way to behave in a family.
Because
setting.
you want to be included, don't you?
Yes.
You want to be included in the family, and as I say, sort of like, and you don't want to be the person that ruins it for everybody else. So you want to watch a movie with the family, or with the grandchildren, or whatever, and you want to be included.
Yes.
But I spend, especially if James is watching a fast-paced sort of film, I'm like, so who did what to who, and who did what to what, and it's like, or if it's got subtitles, well, that's completely out for me. For one, I'm dyslexic, and two, I can't see them anyway. But it's just like, but it's little things like that you still, and I'm thinking, well, if I did it with my headphones on, then I'm going to be completely isolated from the conversation, what's going on as a family. So it's really difficult to try and navigate.
But then maybe we just, in our family, we now just choose the programmes or films that I can follow, and if it's a fast-paced thing, then they'll maybe go to watch it at the cinema, or they'll watch it together, and I'm quite happy to go off and do something myself. But there are, I mean, we joke about it, like we played cards last weekend, and I've got, I don't know if you've got any of the large playing cards, they're enormous. Yes, we do have normal playing cards, but I can't see them. So whenever I'm playing, we're going to play Pontoon or something like that, I love a game of cards. I love being included. But there was a point where I couldn't see what I was doing, and that was really stealing the fun for everybody. I was getting a bit upset, and that just comes out, it spoils the mood, doesn't it? So we all just played with the big cards, and they joke about, should we get the silly big cards out, Mum? Let's, and we're done.
So the first time you come to yoga class with me, how was that? What did you have to do to build up the courage?
I had to really take myself to one side and really give me a talking to, some encouragement. I turned it over in therapy for a long time beforehand. As part of being a therapist, I have weekly therapy or fortnightly therapy myself, and this whole thing about self-disclosure and getting out there and finding my community and finding support has been something that I've been working on. So this Easter holidays was, okay, this is my challenge. I'm going to get myself, rather than doing online yoga and trying to look at the iPad and getting in a confusion, right, I'm going back to class, I'm going to do this. But I hadn't been to class since before COVID. I got dropped off early. I got there and I had a panic, and then I was like, can I really go in? Anyway, so I got up to class, thought, right, I'm going to say right at the beginning, this is my test. I'm going to go and find my teacher and explain, and the rest is history from our perspective. But I then said to you, I don't know if I can do this. I have this eyesight condition. I need to be close. I'm a bit worried. I was very worried, kind of thing. And there you were. It was like the universe was on my side that day. It was just fantastic.
And that's the thing. So if you never went to yoga that day, we would have never met each other with the same condition.
Yeah.
I remember putting my arms around you and going, "Oh, my blind yoga buddy,"
Yes.
and your face, you were just like, "Oh my God."
That really was taking self-disclosure a far step ahead.
As I just shouted it out to the class.
But actually, it was the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah.
And I had an amazing time. I was buzzing after that first class for so many reasons. But yeah, it was just brilliant.
I can imagine you going home and saying to your husband that I've just met this.
I did, and no one could believe it. And everybody I think I spoke to that day, you know, private clients aside, it was just literally the story of my yoga class. It was just incredible, really. So, yeah.
Amazing. And how have you found it? Because I know I sort of, obviously I'm at the front.
Yeah.
And how have you found trying to keep up and stuff like that?
I found it okay, actually, and to be honest, I think I found my position in class just out of habit. I don't think I need to be there in terms of being at the front, because your description is so good. And actually, I think when I close my eyes and try and do me, it's much easier. From a balance perspective and from a listening and the breath, I find it really difficult. Coordination has never been my thing. And getting the information from what you describe into my brain, into my arms and legs, takes some time. Yeah. And so I think it's easier if I don't look, actually, because the time it takes to figure it out is wasted energy. So the audio description, you're really good at describing what's going on. That's really helpful. And I know, to be fair, that if I'm getting it wrong, you'll soon be there and helping me in the right direction, so it's all good. And there was a day when I arrived slightly later and found myself in a different position
in the middle,
and actually I quite liked it. So and
again, there's that sense of community, because I've seen more now when class finishes that you're going up to people and you're talking to people, and I always say that everyone in a yoga class is there for their own reason. And when you start to talk to people and you find out the reason that they're there, it's yoga, a true yoga class. As I've said, there's 8 parts to yoga, but a true yoga class, everyone's there for self-inquiry, self-study, for whatever reason it is. And they're all there on their own journey, and they're such lovely people. I mean, in my classes, that's all I can speak for, is that they're such lovely people, and everyone's really helpful, and everyone's really there to support each other, and that's how a community should be, to support each other and laugh with each other. And you know, I know when you got your yoga wheel that you nearly killed yourself with, your yoga wheel, but you know, I know when other students have come over and helped you, and you've said, you know, can I feel your wheel? And they've not given you like, are you mad?
No, exactly. And in fact, it was one of our fellow yoga students who suggested that maybe the reason I was finding it difficult was because of my vision. I hadn't thought about that. So, you know, she was able, again, that sense of being open, she knows, she was able to suggest actually that might be what's going on, and I hadn't even thought about it.
And that's the thing, as you say, you know, how you could have still been sitting here trying to do it on a video, trying to do it on a little screen, and then found this whole thing, and you're thinking about coming to the 2-hour classes as well.
I booked one.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, and I think there is something about that sense of, once I've been to a few, I've got a sense of the Tuesday feels for me, because it's a similar pattern on a week-to-week basis, I'm getting the hang of it, and now, so I feel a bit more confident to come to Fridays and maybe a class or workshop or two. So
and the other thing is as well is that even as I said, not just because of your vision, but anything, if you think you're not slim enough or you're not bendy enough, or it's just like, you know, you may take a while to find your teacher, but it's worth to keep going. I mean, obviously you met me on your first lesson, but you know, sometimes don't give up, because you know it's like counselling. You know, sometimes you have to take a few goes to find your right counsellor, or you know, but it's the same with yoga. You know, don't give up if you haven't found the right teacher straight away. You will find who you gel with, and not everybody, you know, gels with me. I don't know why, but they just don't. The other thing is that they say in the scriptures, which really makes sense, is that your body is 1,000 eyes. So eventually, once you've got that union, you don't have to even look at your left hand. You know where your left hand is, you know where your right hand is. And it's about not actually seeing it, but actually feeling it. And that's the difference. So that's where you say, now I'm getting that union again, I'm getting that connection, that if I say to you, push your back little toe down, you don't need to go, where's my back little toe?
That's so true.
You just can feel it. And that's why you can feel it in, and you can feel, I can feel other people's energy. I don't have to actually see them properly. They can walk in the room and I can feel that off of them, if they're feeling blue, if they're feeling down, if they're, you know, so it's the sense of feeling as well.
A greater sense of awareness, which is massively beneficial throughout the rest of the day. You know, I come to class on a Tuesday morning, and then I have a full day of work there afterwards, and I really notice the benefit throughout the rest of the day, at least on a Tuesday. So I have to keep working at that for the rest of the week. But it's not just the class itself; it's the rest of the day and week. And
that well-being, because it's everything, isn't it? We, you know, and as you say, that community, that the union of your own body, but there's a support group, you're all doing something, and you're all there working on yourself. You know, that well-being is amazing. You know, and having that a conversation away from the family as well, about something that you're interested in, and sharing that, you know, is brilliant.
Stargardt's was a gift because, well, I say it's a gift now, but it's taken me a long time to get to that point. It didn't feel like a gift right at the beginning point. But I'm not the same person now as I was before diagnosis. And I think that gift of the self-awareness, the process that I've been through, I would have been probably carrying on in a very different way. I would have been all in my head. I wouldn't have been in my body at all. I wouldn't have had any sense of connection to myself in my relationships. It was very cognitive in my experience, and I was pretty good at that. I'm not saying that the past version of me didn't have many good qualities, but I think I'm a better human being. I think I'm kinder, and more understanding, and my capacity to sort of be with others struggling and just navigating everyday life has improved as a result of this. So that's the gift of this Stargardt's.
I mean, the thing that I have found more, that all my yoga studying, everything that I was studying for the 17 years before has really kicked into play now. So I'm not saying I was more prepared than other people, but I was already on that road of self-study, self-inquiry, because there's other things that have happened in my life, you know. With the dyslexia, and when I was younger I had an eating disorder, so I was already working on myself. But the thing that it has done, it's made me really live in the moment and appreciate them moments, rather than going, in 5 years time I walk the Yorkshire Free Peaks. It's like, okay, we're going to do that now. And But I did start that because, you know, my dad was very much for like, you know, when I retire. And I think now it's sort of like, well, why can't we do it now? You know, what's stopping us do it now? So really living in that moment, because we don't know.
No.
So they do believe that I've not just got Stargardt's disease. There is a question that I have another eye condition as well. But again, I don't think a label's really going to matter because it's happening anyway. So
and that staying in the present, that feels so important, to focus on what is actually happening right at the moment. And part of the experience I certainly had at the beginning point was that heightened sense of anxiety. I think the absence of being able to see the world as clearly as I had really brought a sense of fear in terms of not being able to navigate and see where I was going. And so that heightened sense of, you know, vigilance was in my body the whole time. That anxiety was running through. So being able to more recently come back into that here and now, being able to really ground and just stay with the reality has really helped that sense of heightened stress, which I think goes with any sense of sensory impairment, because of not being able to fully rely upon, you know, all of your senses to tell you where you are in the world. Though having said that, my experiences, my other senses are much heightened, and when you say you feel the energy, I'm definitely with you in that one.
Yeah, and my hearing's so much better.
Yes.
In the yoga philosophy, there's Sutra 1.1. It says Atha Yoga Nushasanam. Now yoga begins. So now the union begins, and it's that union of everything. So that's that one aspect of it's not like tomorrow I'll go to yoga or tomorrow I'll do that. It's like now the journey begins, and it's now we start that journey. Now we move forward. And what we do in yoga, there's like a mudra, there's a gesture that you put your thumbs over your ears, you put your fingers over your eyes just lightly. You take a breath in and you keep the air in, and you close your nose and your mouth. And we do this on retreats. You know, you should really do it with a teacher. Obviously, don't do it on your own, but with a teacher. And we do it on retreats where we shut everything off and bring yourself right inside you. And it's really powerful to actually close everything off and really be present within yourself. And I think that's what the journey of losing my vision has done to me. Really made me look more inwards. And not that self-doubt doesn't creep in, you know. I have glasses, but my glasses change every 3 months. I am still chasing glasses at the moment, so every 3 months I change them, but I'm teaching classes with 22 people in, so I do need my glasses at the moment. When I have left my bag at home, or my husband's left my bag at home, and I've gone to class and I've had no glasses, and I sit at the front and I look out at 22 people and I can't see anybody, there's that overwhelmed feeling that comes up of fear, anxious. And then I just tell everybody that I've left my glasses at home and completely open, completely vulnerable, but completely free. At the same time of saying, I can't see any of you. Please don't leave your water bottles. Please don't leave your blocks around, because I will fall over. And I will approach you and I will place my hands on you. And nobody's left.
No, and what a great lesson in presence. It's just talking about what's actually happening in the here and now.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been really good to talk to you.